This is Luke Paulson, the Catholic Conservative, and welcome to the news of the week for July 5th, 2025. And if you enjoy these videos, do not forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more. Michigan shooter thwarted. I have said it before, and I will say it again until I am blue in the face. The Second Amendment saves lives. Granted, I will not be blue in the face, because I recorded that in advance to use over and over again, but I digress. Moving on, I take you to Wayne, Michigan. A man opened fire outside of a church before he was struck by a vehicle, and then he was fatally shot by security. It has also been confirmed that he was a member of the church. So what we have here is a bad guy with a gun who was killed by a good guy with a gun. If the shooter had not been taken out, this would already be national news, and Robert O'Rourke, as well as the rest of his ilk, would already be calling for gun control, as if that would accomplish anything at all. I live out in the middle of nowhere, and the church where I am has armed security. They do ask us not to bring our firearms inside to make their job easier. The doors are locked from the inside, and then the security detail guards us while we worship. The security can only protect us because of the Second Amendment, and say it with me, the Second Amendment saves lives. The Second Amendment is all about self-defense, and sometimes that has to occur between nations. Iran says they have nothing. There have been a lot of conflicting reports about Iran's nuclear program. CNN already had to retract claims that congressional leadership was not informed. President Donald Trump called to inform them, but the Democrats just did not take his call. And so the fake news had to retract that story. Then, the fake news started reporting that the damage was minimal. The following clip is from Iran's state-run media.
You tell us, I'm going to insist on this a little bit more, what remains operational today as far as Iran's nuclear program?
I have nothing to add on this matter because it's a matter of technical issue. Our Atomic Energy Organization and other relevant agencies are working on that. But yes, our nuclear installations have been badly damaged. That's for sure, because it has come under repeated attacks by Israeli and American aggressors.
Iran has the most to lose by saying that the facilities were destroyed. As such, they are probably destroyed. If they were still operational, they would be telling their people that the nuclear program was still strong. This echoes what the Central Intelligence Agency has said. So both our enemies and our own forces are saying that they were destroyed. The only ones who do not believe that are the fake news and the sheeple who listen to them. Supposedly, we have set their nuclear program back years. It is for that reason that they are coming to America. And they already have a mayoral candidate in New York. New York Intifada. Zohran Mamdani refuses to denounce the slogan that was chanted at this year's Muslim New Year. As someone who no doubt supports the global intifada, Mamdani cannot denounce global intifada. For those of you who have been living under a rock for the past few decades, intifada is the idea that Muslims will take over the world and impose their own law on the rest of us. Those who do not submit can either pay a tax or be killed. The idea of just letting people believe things and debate is unheard of to these people. Combine this with the fact that Mamdani wants to tax people based on their skin shade, which is blatant anti-whiteism, and I am calling it out. He is a deplorable politician. It was not enough to cheer for the murderers on October 7th. Now these same people want that all over the world. If the Intifada is successful, every homosexual will be killed. So much for the Gays for Palestine movement. All of the atheists will be killed. All of the Christians will be killed. All of the Jews will be killed. All those who are not Muslim will be killed. They will then start killing those who are not part of their sect of Islam. Fun fact, the United States Navy was founded to stop Muslim incursions on our ships. Britain is already seeing the consequences of bringing these people in. They have gangs of men who abuse women. And then the women are attacked for reporting said abuse. That will come to America before long if this is not stopped. How can we stop New York from electing someone who is technically legally capable of running? I do not know. All we may be able to do is stop others like him and get rid of the illegals who were imported to elect him. Now I would like to look at one of his dumbest proposals. Socializing grocery stores. Socialized grocery stores. Now I do not think that I need to tell my listening audience that anywhere socialism is tried, it leads to massive shortages. This is because governments are slow and inefficient, and they have no incentive to improve. Since this is in New York, let me give you an example from the Big Apple. The New York subway system is an impressive feat of engineering, to say the least. It was dug out by a private company to make mass transit more affordable without traffic. It was a wonderful idea, but then something happened. Inflation. Because of inflation, the company raised its fare. Long explanation short, the city took over the subway to keep the fare from going up, and then raised the fare anyway. And the fare just kept going up after that. Today, the subway is an abomination of crime and moral decay. The government has no incentive to improve. Even if they did, they would not. A private company would have to improve or lose business. This is why grocery store profits are razor thin. They keep having to improve because if they do not, they lose everything to the store down the street. If Mom Donnie's plan is put into practice, there will be massive shortages. And I say keep the people of New York in there. After all, they brought this on themselves. If they want to come to civilized states such as Texas or Florida, they should start on a trial period to ensure that they do not want to bring any ideas from New York. I doubt that would work out, but it is worth a shot. Now let us move on past enemies of freedom running for mayor and focus on President Trump's newest potential award, Presidential Nobel Peace Prize. The Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda have entered a peace deal. It was brokered by none other than our very own President Trump. I do not know anything about the war, nor do I know anything about the peace terms. All I know for a fact is that the leaders of both nations credited President Trump for brokering peace. The president of Congo even gave President Trump his support to be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Naturally, liberals do not think that he should get it because of their Trump derangement syndrome. President Barack Obama got the prize despite bombing countless countries for no practical reason. President Trump has brokered multiple peace deals. And when force is necessary, he gets the job done in a matter of hours. President Obama got the prize despite being known as the deporter-in-chief at the time. Now President Trump is somehow not qualified because he is also deporting the illegals. I'm just saying that the president of one of the nations that was affected by the war should be a great character witness in getting this prestigious award. It would also force the fake news to either address his work for peace or be called out on lying about it. It is their choice. Now let us talk a little bit more about deportations. As such, we need to go to Florida. The Alligator Alcatraz. This past week, a new detention center for the illegals opened up. This one was in Florida. It is being called the Alligator Alcatraz because it is in the middle of a swamp. It has natural protection. All of the alligators. As such, no one is going to try and escape that way. As such, Florida probably had to spend a lot less money on guards and watchtowers. Now, this is not going to be a permanent home for the illegals. This is just until we can get them processed and out of the country. They could have taken President Trump's offer for a free plane ride, but they did not, and thus had to be rounded up. The illegals brought this on themselves. President Trump personally came to opening day, so let us talk about a very major victory. The bill has won. The big, beautiful bill passed the House vote. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. But I want to talk briefly about its time in the Senate. The big, beautiful bill passed the Senate thanks to J.D. Vance. There were a few hardliners in the Republican Party who made it much harder than it should have been. This is not on the shoulders of the neocons, but actually some of the paleoconservatives. I love that they stood on principle. I just think that they stood on the wrong principle. You're not going to be able to fix more than 200 years of government corruption overnight. But the big, beautiful bill is an excellent start. I do not believe in using violence, but I will if my family is threatened. Likewise, I generally do not support big bills and spending, but the big beautiful bill might get it under control. I am not going to give President Trump blanket support in everything. Considering some of the lies Democrats have been spinning, rather than focusing on the real issues, I think that this bill is good. After all, they went back to the same fear-mongering of Paul Ryan pushing Grandma off the cliff. Cutting the waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicaid is something that Democrats used to be for, but suddenly they are not because it is getting done. It is the same reason that Bill Clinton and other prominent Democrats wanted a border wall until the construction began. Is the bill perfect?
No.
Is it worlds better than anything that the Democrats would have offered us?
Yes.
Now let us go to a stream of other victories for Americans, brought on by President Trump and pro-American ideals. Victory for all women. The University of Pennsylvania is standing up for women's rights after all of this time. The university has stripped Leah Thomas of all awards and apologized to the women. I would use this person's real name, but that is dead naming and would get my channel taken down. They have stripped William Thomas of all of his wins and apologized to the women. Women had opportunities taken away so that Thomas could go from one of the worst in the men's division to the absolute best in the women's division. The secret to Thomas's success was male puberty. This is a huge victory for women at UPenn. This is a huge victory for all women in competitive swimming. This is a huge victory for women's sports. This is a huge victory for women as a whole. With this, we are starting to see some semblance of normalcy. However, we cannot forget that this all started because of an executive order by President Trump. However, this was not his only success. He is the first fascist in history to limit government power. End of USAID. Congressman Ron Paul once said, "Foreign aid is taking money from the poor people of a rich country and giving it to the rich people of a poor country." That being said, USAID has officially been eliminated. This makes it the first government agency to be completely eliminated thanks to Elon Musk, as well as his team at the Department of Government Efficiency. The amount of wasteful spending found there was staggering. When Elon Musk was contacted by the United Nations in 2021, they asked him to donate money so that they could fight hunger around the world. He promised $6 million, but only if the money was distributed in a way that would show how it was being allocated. I believe the UN turned this down because it would expose their corruption. With USAID gone, Democrats believe that countless people will starve. But if they were concerned about that, they would have worked with Doge to stop all of the corruption. But they did not because they needed this corruption to pay off cronies, or getting a little something for themselves. Now, with the end of that corruption, let us talk about the corruption of the fake news and how President Trump still won. CBS Lawsuit Won. Paramount Global has agreed to pay $16 million to settle President Trump's lawsuit against them. President Trump does not need the money. He was wealthy before he became a public servant, as opposed to others who became wealthy afterwards. The money is going to his future presidential library. In other words, the fake news is paying for a museum celebrating President Trump's victories. That is, again, in a word,
Ironic.
For context, during the 2024 presidential campaign, Kamala Harris was interviewed by 60 Minutes. They then deceptively edited footage by attaching her answer from one question to answer a question that she had previously bungled. President Trump alleged that this was election interference. As with most of these cases, they settled out of court. Possibly to pay less, possibly because they knew that they had no hope with a jury. Either way, they lost. And President Trump keeps getting stronger. The economy is also getting stronger as well. Job numbers up. 4.1% is not a very high number. However, when it comes to unemployment, it is a very good number. Ever since Liberation Day, President Trump's opponents have been saying that his tariffs would destroy the economy. This came not only from Operation Mockingbird assets. Operation Mockingbird is here to remind you to never question the official narrative, but well-meaning people like John Stossel and Elon Musk. The difference is that these tariffs were designed to be temporary, to encourage the other countries to lower the tariffs that they had in place for years. We were told to wait until the June numbers came in. However, here we are in July with excellent numbers, low unemployment, and more jobs created. Now let us talk about something that needs to be stopped, even if it never will be. A corrupt, two-tiered justice system. Legally, I have to say that Sean Diddy Combs was accused of unmentionable crimes against children. He was essentially convicted of trafficking children to no one. The same thing happened to Ghislaine Maxwell, the right-hand woman of Jeffrey Epstein. Then, there was the prosecutor in this case, Maureen Comey, the daughter of James Comey. one of the worst and most deplorable members of the deep state. I do not want to say much more about this, but I will say that Combs escaped earthly justice. He, however, is just storing up wrath unto the day of judgment. Maybe I'm just blowing smoke. Maybe I'm completely off my rocker, but that is just my opinion. And do not forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more. But before you go, on the left I have last week's video, but you may also enjoy the video on the right.